Hello and welcome to another episode of the Bear Business Vodcast with me, Chris Barnard from feedbackfans.com. Today my guest is Phil Story, founder of the software business Glow. Phil and I talk about the importance of support and maintenance for your website and how you can make it a competitive advantage for your business or agency. Phil, hi. Would you like to share for our listeners on Bear Business a bit of the story behind you and your founding of the business Glow, please?
Happily. Good to be here, Chris. Thanks for having me, mate. So I founded a company called Glow after about 10 years running a web design agency in Leeds. And as you might have guessed, web design agency, we built a lot of websites. But a big part of what we did was offering this kind of ongoing support and maintenance service to those clients as well. And of course, as you know, listeners, as the number of clients you have that grow, your team generally grows, and the sort of processes you've got in place needs to change and adapt with that growth. And that's what we did. We started out, with only a handful of sites that we were managing, very manual processes. We were using email to handle, support requests from clients. And as we grew, we started putting some different systems in place. So we had a support ticket system, for example, that we brought in. I think it was Freshdesk that we used. You've probably heard of that yourself, Chris. I think. At some point along the line, and it was very good. Going from email to Freshdesk was an amazing difference. And in a similar nature, with the technical aspects of looking after those websites, we kind of went from a very manual process to using like a WordPress management dashboard. That it was quite new at the time when it came out. And that was good. That saved us a lot of time as well. We continued to grow, continued to add more websites. But we were looking at it, and we were, in our assessments, we were sort of realizing that the reasons that clients were staying with us, over those years, and they continued to sort of pay us every month, every year, was because the quality of our support were really, really good. So whenever a client needed us, with some issue on the website that needed fixing or something changing, we were really quick to reply, really empathetic, really understanding. We did a great job of that support, and that's why the client stuck with us for a long time, no matter what we had in place for the maintenance stuff. But we had these systems, and they all just felt a bit disjointed. And we had teammates logging into one system, teammates logging into another one, and we wanted to try and bring it all together. And that was the sort of the moment for me where I was like, well, there's got to be a product out there that sort of combines this entire thing into one place. Because if there was, that would be absolutely amazing for my team. And of course, ultimately, there wasn't, right? There was no sort of WordPress specific management dashboard that brought sort of support and maintenance and reporting all into one place for my team to kind of align around. And I thought, really, well, there should be. So that was the catalyst for me then starting Glow and going down this whole journey of moving out of agency life and into product life, really. So yeah, that's my kind of journey to date, I guess, Chris.
I think it's amazing you've found such a sort of unique selling point, because often people would just persevere with that kind of inconvenience, right? And you see it, yeah. I'm sure a lot of the listeners have this inconvenience in terms of having a ticketing system and the maintenance is dealt with over there. So I love that you've brought it all in and kept it all under one roof and finally moved it there. I'm amazed there isn't more competitors in the space, actually, because I think the product is one that serves a great purpose. And actually, it's a product that, I'm sure you get this in your feedback, that once people come to you, they probably wonder how they ever existed without it, right? They'd be like, oh, you've been managing the support tickets in the email and using this system over here unintegrated, and probably copying, pasting and manual processes that they must relieve themselves of when they come to you and get Glow, Phil, right? Yeah,
that's absolutely right. I mean, we do have competitors. I think any sort of SaaS product these days is very unlikely to kind of be on its own, really. In its own niche. There's always similar sorts of tools out there. However, there aren't any that sort of do exactly what we do in terms of bringing all of those things into one place. So. Yeah, you're absolutely right in the way that we sort of alleviate that pain, or various pains that agencies might be experiencing in, that support and maintenance side of the business. Yeah.
I think often when agencies at this sort of stage are taking on a variety of tools for their SEO, they'll be using probably tools for the paid search management, etc. So it's quite natural for them. But I suppose a lot of the tools that an agency take on board these days are more of a cost center, whereas your tool kind of gives them an opportunity, particularly if they've not been explicitly selling maintenance and support, gives them an opportunity to create a new revenue stream.
Yeah.
So I just wondered if you could sort of talk to us a little bit about that, about why you think, because I've certainly got a view on this in terms of the websites we've built, the websites that some of our customers have had built by agencies we work with, where there might not be an explicit clause around maintenance and support, or the importance of maintenance and support. Sometimes it gets wrapped up under sort of, managed hosting, and I'm sure you've got these sort of agreements where certain agencies are just assuming to take on the maintenance and hosting. So I just wondered what your thoughts on why maybe this has not been an explicit charge before, maintenance and support, and why it might be overlooked by businesses who may not be having a regular maintenance and support agreement with their web developers or their agencies.
Yeah, it's a good question, and a topic that's often discussed with the people that I talk to on like LinkedIn and stuff. I'm very active on there, like posting content about website support and maintenance all the time. I think there's a couple of sides to the coin, Chris. Really, so you obviously got the client, you've got the agency. Oftentimes, it gets cited as the client's problem, right? In the sense that they're not very technical, they don't understand it, and that's why it's hard to sell it to them. I think there's probably an element of truth to that. But I also know that a lot of agencies don't actually sell it to them either, right? So they could be well sat there thinking, this is such an important service that we need to make sure clients, but they don't do a great job of selling it. You and I have spoken in the past about proposals that agencies put together that just don't include any kind of aftercare, support policies or anything. They always include hosting. And that's kind of of course, imperative, right? Is a hosting and a server for a website to sit on in order for it to be live. But many agencies, and I'm talking established agencies, that may have built hundreds of sites over the years. I've talked to plenty of them, and they haven't sold support and maintenance to those clients, and literally leaving 10, 15, 20 grand a month of revenue on the table for having not done that. A very good friend of mine is actually an example of one of those agencies, not naming no names. But then, yes, of course, you do have the client side as well, and that I guess expectance upon them to understand the technical nature of websites is probably a little bit unfair. So that's on occasion maybe why uptake of support and maintenance packages possibly isn't as high as it as high as it could be. I always used to use a metaphor. So when I was running my agency and selling these care plans to clients, I would try and use some kind of real world examples. So a car is quite a good one. Yeah. So everybody knows that when they buy a car, for the next 5 years of them having that car, they need to do things like put fuel in it and wash it and MOT it and clean it, whatever. Because they know if they don't do that, at some point the car's probably going to stop working, albeit they're a little bit more reliable these days than they might have been in the past, but you get the idea, right? And a website is quite similar, right? So if you are, I don't know, even if you're listening to this podcast and you've got a business, you've got a website, it's very important to make sure that it's looked after and maintained, just like your car is. I think the last statistic that I saw on this was every 35 to 40 seconds, there's a hack attempt on small business websites in the UK. So it's just in the time that you and me have been speaking here, 8 minutes, there will have been thousands of hack attempts on all of our websites. So it's a big thing. It's a big thing, and agencies can be there to provide a really valuable service here, right? It's not something that they're just trying to sell to the client just to increase their recurring revenue. It's a very important service, whether you're looking at the maintenance angle for keeping the site secure. You've only got to look at something like M&S recently, right, in the UK. I know that's a huge company, but same principles apply. So you've got the maintenance aspect. You've got the support aspect. If you're running a business, you might be technical enough, you might well know how to log into your website and make a change to your site. But at some point, you might also just not want to do that. You might not have the time to do that. You might not have the inclination to do that. Whereas if you've got a really good support agency partner, web design agency partner, you can lean on them, and send a message to them. Hey, Phil, can you help us with X or whatever? And they'll sort out your site for you. So, yeah, I think it's obviously it's good on both sides, right? The client gets that benefit of a protected, well looked after, well managed site that continues to run smoothly, load fast, and generate leads for them. and the agency has that, ability to obviously increase their recurring revenue, but also be able to, show to future clients, look, this is how well we look after our clients. We don't just build the website for them and then leave them to it. We build it and we protect it over time and make sure that we look after them for the long term.
And these are real risks, aren't they? I suppose that's always been where I've come from as I've observed this and observed kind of WordPress grow and the maintenance aspect grow and people wanting to move to things like WordPress is that I think open source sometimes, as people are building websites on these fabulous licenses where they get to use such great software for free. I mean, it's not for free. We'll probably go into bits of that, right? It's not for free. There's always some conditions attached, but WordPress being so popular, being used by so many websites, I think around 40%, is it that we talked about?
Yeah, just over 40% of the entire internet, yeah.
The entire internet are on WordPress, right? So it's something that will be attacked because it's, if you are a hacking group, and there are more and more hacking groups, I suppose that an issue we do have is that as people don't see these people, they don't find these hackers, it's very much seen as an ethereal problem, I suppose, even for M&S and those big companies who we've mentioned who've had cyber attacks recently, is everyone gets into a model of, I don't think it will be me. So, how if I run this small business? But I think what's forgotten in that is that actually with a lot of the changes in the data laws we've had over the last few years, it's super important that you are maintaining a secure system, an updated system. I mean, that must be one of the big sides on the maintenance, right? And the headaches in terms of lots of these WordPress websites have third-party software that we know as plugins. They'll know as plugins. They feel that, often business owners will add as many plugins as they want for different functionalities, but it comes with new security risks, new security vulnerabilities. And really, they should be going to a technical partner if they're technical minded in that aspect, Phil, shouldn't they? And asking for support on these things to keep it updated, to ensure that they are at least protecting, particularly if you have customer data, very sensitive data.
Absolutely.
And I mentioned this as someone who's had to help clean up after websites. It's much easier paying your £10 a month and maintaining it, supporting it properly, than the risks and the costs. And actually, if you have to go out to your client base and say, we have been compromised, the reason without you having a care plan in place or support in place will probably be something that would have been fixed if you had someone sorting these issues for you, Phil, is the reality, isn't it?
It is. Not only would it have been fixed, it may not have even happened in the first place, actually, if it was being very well looked after by the agency. So, I would encourage any business owners listening who are unsure as to whether their agency is actively, proactively managing and maintaining their site, to just pop the question over to them at the moment. I mean, you probably should know, because if you're not paying them anything, it's very likely that they won't be doing anything, right? And if that is the case, ask them about their support and care packages, because as you were just saying there, Chris, it is far more cost effective for you to be paying this fairly notional monthly fee to your agency to make sure that your site does stay well protected and secure and fast and reliable, than risking that situation. And I have seen this on many occasions in my career where, you sit down with your coffee on your morning, you check your emails, have a look at your website, and it's redirecting to something extremely unsavory. And that's all because it's not being looked after. It does happen, and it will happen to you. If you don't get your site properly protected. It's just a matter of fact, really. But the good thing is not to be scaring anybody too much with that information. If you've got a good, reliable web agency partner, these should be issues that don't occur to you. Now, tech is tech, right? Something will go wrong at some point, always, no matter what the best intentions you might have in place and support things you've got in place with your agency. But you stand a much better chance of those things being resolved very quickly with minimal to no damage to your brand reputation online if you've got a good agency in place looking after it for you.
Yeah, and there's definitely, so there's that data security angle, isn't there? The brand reputation angle, you're absolutely right. I mean, the damage there could be catastrophic if it's not managed properly. Yeah. But there's also the other angle, isn't there, which is that an actively managed website is probably a healthy website. It's probably a revenue, profit-generating website, right? Yeah. Because actually, the websites don't live in a vacuum, and time moves on quite quickly, as you and I have spoken about recently. At our sort of ages, right? Time moves by very quickly. Yeah. And as a business, you should be looking to get the most competitive advantage, I believe, out of your website as possible. Because I think there is loads of ways you can have a competitive advantage with a website. And one of those ways is going to have an actively managed relationship with your web provider, whoever that is, whether it's an agency, freelance or whatever, using tools such as yours to be able to identify, what should we do with the website this month? I mean, if you're not actively looking to build, whether it's your SEO positions or whether it's to create new landing pages for personas, journeys, analyzing your market research. I've never seen in my lifetime, Phil, a website that I don't think could be better. So I don't believe it exists, right? So there's an angle as well, isn't there, of having more active management of your website and being more active in support and taking more care in your website is going to come with lots of benefits for your business, isn't it?
Yeah, and you as the the owner of the website, the business owner, can absolutely drive that, right? So I do think it, of course, should be the agency leading on the technical side of it and the monitoring, the maintenance and making sure things are kept secure. They should be leading on that because typically that won't be your skill set as the business owner, right? You'll be focused on whatever your business might be. But what you can lead on and really kind of encourage your agency to support you with is all the stuff you just talked about there, and really making sure that website is an active, living, breathing thing that's helping you drive your business forward. It's generating leads, regularly. I've said it before, it should be the best sales person in your business, really. I mean, there are so many ways to drive traffic to your website and generate very good quality leads for the business. So make it a priority. If it isn't for you at the moment, make it one and really start thinking about ways to improve the site so that it helps you drive the business forward. And if you've got a good, reliable web agency partner, they'll be able to help you do that. And often they will do that through some kind of ongoing support or care plan. Every agency is different, right? I've seen agencies just include the technical stuff. I mean, typically it grows as you pay them more, right? On the lower priced plans, typically they'll just make sure that the general security and maintenance stuff is all the boxes are ticked there. And move up the plans, they'll give you more support time. They may include some kind of marketing related stuff. You've touched on SEO and other things and paid advertising and stuff. So yeah. I would just encourage you to talk to the agency that you work with or the site, at least the one that built the website for you in the first place, and start having these conversations.
Yeah, I think it's a great point. I love that you say sort of the web agency leading it as well, because I think that is right. I think it has to be. I think sometimes we all get into those kind of, when you have these partnerships and these relationships, you can start to think, oh, well, surely it's their responsibility to tell me this. And it is, in a way, they should be leading, but you are still the business owner, right? You should still be, as an active business owner, hopefully as a business owner who is growing your business and not in terminal decline, you will be looking for ways to improve your site. And actually, I think a question that is forgotten to get asked to agencies sometimes and to freelancers is, how can we make this website better now, right? I think often it will come into these points you mentioned, right? Could be better way of doing support, could be better maintenance, better analysis of software evaluation, for example, or feature evaluation of things we could add to the website that really bring great value.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of, sometimes we forget. So that would kind of be the thing that I say to the business owners who are listening on our podcast today would be, don't forget to ask your partners, have we got any ideas? How can we be better than this? I think we all, in the run of day to day, Phil, we forget to ask those simple questions sometimes, don't we?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a really good point. And I think just bringing it back to maintenance for a second and sort of tying that in with what you just said there, Chris, about the, pushing it forward and stuff for the benefit of the business. They go hand in hand. Yeah. As in the maintenance and kind of, let's just call it marketing, for just trying to use a simple one-word term. They go hand in hand really nicely, because if you think about if they didn't and you had no maintenance in place, but you were spending 500 quid or £1,000 or £2,000 a month on your marketing, on SEO, on paid ads, on email marketing, social, whatever, and you started sending those people to a website that was poorly maintained, that was slow to load, that crashed every now and then, or, and we've seen it this week alone, the site's been hacked, and you don't know about it, because your agency's not looking after the maintenance side of it for you, but you're spending loads of money on marketing, and few days later, after you've just spent another few £100, somebody tells you, oh, your site's gone down, for example. So that's why they go hand in hand. And it's an important point to make, because I do understand it from the client's point of view sometimes, particularly if the agency hasn't done a great job of selling the benefits of maintenance to the client in the first place. It can feel a bit like almost like a bit of an annoying spend sometimes for clients. Oh, I've got to spend £50 a month on just to make sure the site, but if you look at it more of really just an investment in the long-term health of the website and just frame it more in that sense, I think it's a better way of looking at it, and then understanding that they really do go hand. It really does go hand in hand with the marketing stuff. I think you'll soon realise the benefits of it then, for sure.
And maybe this is it. Maybe it's part of the way IT has always been treated us. But we probably do have a few IT managers who listen to the podcast, right? So they'll be there. They'll know these moments where, when I worked in London for a variety of businesses, something that was always noticeable, and this was usually me on the marketing team, working hand in hand with an IT team. But something that is noticeable in businesses once you get to maybe over 50 employees, kind of. I think we have companies also say we have that problem as well, Chris, but particularly when you're over 200 employees, for example, is that IT is chronically underfunded. It's underfunded everywhere. I don't understand why that has always been the case. So I suppose it's always been an area for businesses where, and maybe it's because it is still relatively young in its advancement, right? IT in systems and in business only been around 50 years, arguably, but obviously going back, people have used systems. But IT has always had this problem of always try to justify itself, right? Always try to get more budget, particularly getting budget to be proactive, which is what you mentioned there, right? Which is sort of identifying issues before they happen, which you can do if you have active maintenance and support. Those kind of proactive systems, monitoring your website, monitoring the uptime, monitoring people's experiences on your website, which is very important, right? I think everyone accepts it's very important. So the fact that it doesn't get funded enough, I wonder if you've got any experiences where you've seen sort of IT teams struggling to get funding from your background before Glow. Is that an opinion you share? Do you think IT is often underfunded in these aspects and needs more investment?
Possibly. What you made me start thinking about there is actually creatives as well, and because a lot of this falls into the creative. A lot of the stuff I'm talking about, falls into the the creative side of life, doesn't it? So web design, graphic design, marketing stuff. But particularly from my own experience as a web designer by trade, and some very good friends of mine that are branding consultants, graphic designers, that is a great example of one that's underfunded, and clients often expect to get cheap, I guess, services for that sort of creative sector. Copywriting is another good example of that, and I'm sure IT is similar, in various quarters, but it's not something I come across too often these days. I suppose. I think just bringing it back to support and maintenance and WordPress sites again. To be honest with you, I think a lot of the time it's not that it's kind of underfunded. I mean, don't get me wrong, you do get clients that sort of balk at having to pay a monthly fee after having just paid a fee for the site to be built in the first place. I think a lot of the time it's the agency not doing a great job of actually selling the service in the first place. So it's not that the client doesn't have the money and doesn't want to pay for it. It's that it's either not been mentioned at all in the proposal stage, or it's been mentioned but it's not been sold very well. The benefits, the long-term benefits to the client and their business and their website hasn't been sold very well. So I think that's probably, in my experience at least, Chris, that's probably more the case. I would say.
Yeah, I agree. But let's pretend I am not an underfunded agency or an underfunded IT team. I am an agency going great guns. We're doing really well. We've brought on a variety of website clients. I've seen one of your LinkedIn posts and thought, oh, crikey, I'm not charging for support and maintenance. Maybe I need to look at this platform Glow, see how it's going to help me. At what point in my agency's development or my freelance business development, I'm starting to get sort of issues with clients with support and maintenance. At what stage should I approach you to help grow my business using your platform and system? What sort of stage of agency do I need to be to come and get the most benefits from your systems?
That's a good question. I think you've probably referenced a situation there that we do get occasionally, and funnily enough, it's usually from bigger agencies that we have this conversation with, where they come to us and they've built hundreds of websites over the years. and they're hosting all of them, but they're not maintaining any of them, or they are, but they're kind of doing it for free, and the client isn't like sort of paying them any money for that. So they're sort of sat there thinking, well, blooming it, we could have another sort of 10 grand a month coming in here if we'd have just sold these clients maintenance and care packages over the years. So we do get some of those coming to Glow. And what they're trying to understand is how Glow as a platform could help them, start to sell those care plans and increase their recurring revenue. Now, Glow isn't really built as a tool to help agencies sell more care plans. It's built as a tool for agencies who are already doing that. They just want a more efficient way of doing it for their team. So there's those two sides to it, really. Don't get me wrong, we do have agencies that started with us who are now sort of starting to introduce those care packages to clients that they've already got. And I think the ways that they are doing that in Glow is firstly showing them the dashboard, which is not blowing my own trumpet, but it's very smart, very clean, very slick, very modern, very nice to look at, which does your brand proud, effectively. And the reporting is a big side of it. And this is the part of it that really helps the client to understand the value of it. And that's the bit that you need them to understand in order for them to start paying for it. So those agencies that have taken on Glow who didn't first already have care plans in place started adding their clients' websites to the dashboard, monitoring processes, maintaining things, doing various proactive support related activity, and then producing a lovely report and showing it to the client and saying, look, by the way, here's all the stuff we're doing for you in making sure that your client, your website's kept secure and kept running smoothly. We are now going to introduce, a minimum price plan of £50 a month or whatever it might be for us to continue doing this for you, for example. So there's those agencies that come to us, and they're probably 5% of our customer base. The other 95 are agencies of differing sizes who are already managing a various number of WordPress sites. We've got agencies managing about 10 sites, and we've got agencies managing 400-500 sites. So there's quite a range there, of course, but really they all have pretty much the same set of requirements from a system like Glow, which is team alignment. Yeah. So if there's 3, 4, 5, 6 people in this web development team within the agency, alignment is really important for them to come around one dashboard, one source of truth, one place to see all of those sites that they're managing, all the different processes that are happening, the monitoring processes, any maintenance work that needs carrying out. Glow's going to tell you what needs doing and when it needs doing and when it's been done and who did it. So there's a nice sort of audit trail of everything as well. And not to mention, it'll then actually automate some of those processes for you, so you don't have to do them at all, which is kind of one of the sort of the second benefit of the product, really, which is that sort of team efficiency, productivity side of it, so that, we have agencies going from spending literally hours and hours every month producing reports for their clients to spending like a few minutes, just checking that the reports all look okay or whatever, because Glow's done it all for them. And there will be some fancy studies and loads of studies, I'm sure, somewhere that will tell you the value of that to an agency on a monthly basis. I mean, it really will run into the thousands of pounds a month and tens of thousands of pounds a year, the time savings that you can get from using something like Glow. And then really the third thing is something we've touched on before, but that kind of agency growth, like the recurring revenue growth. If you are using something like Glow that ultimately helps you do a more efficient, better, more impressive job of looking after your clients' sites, those clients are going to stick around with you for longer. Yeah? You're doing a great job of looking after them. Whenever they need you, you're there instantly to help them through the support ticket system. What client is going to leave off the back of that level of support, right? They're going to stay with you for longer. So it's something that also sort of helps you drive that forward. Like I said, we do have some clients that kind of then use it in their sales process. So they show screenshots of the dashboard in proposals on their website, and it can help with that sales process as well. But we certainly don't sort of pitch it as a product that, helps you do sales kind of thing. It's just a nice little byproduct, I think, Chris, really, more than anything else. Yeah.
And last time we spoke, you were working on white label proposition, I believe, that's all now completed. Do you just want to talk about that a little bit? Because I know we have some listeners who love to use white label software and brand it as their own. Do you want to just tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so Glow's always been a dashboard that you can sort of customize, right? So you can, let's take you as an example, Chris, feedback fans. Of course, when you open a Glow account, it's full of Glow's branding, right? Logo and all sorts of stuff. So you could, add your logo, add your color scheme, and that all feeds through really nicely into things like the reports. So when you create a report for your client, it looks like it's your reporting system, yeah? So it's very, very on brand, which I think is key for like client, continuity with your clients and stuff. Because if you sent a report and it was covered in Glow branding, the clients are going to be asking you, who's Glow, right? So it would be a little bit weird. So it's a nice little thing that you can do there for the customization, and that feeds its way down into emails that get sent out from the system. They look like they've come from your agency, not from Glow, even though it's us that's sending them for you in the background. And a lot of that is all customizable as well. I guess the final point on the sort of the white labeling side of it is that we have a feature that allows agencies or freelancers, to be honest, anyone that's providing some kind of white labeled support for other agencies, you can kind of fully run that through Glow as well. So this is something we used to do as an agency. So although we had our own clients whose websites we would manage, we also managed the websites of other agencies. And we really wished at the time that we had something like Glow in place that, each agency would then have their sort of own area, their own dashboard branded as them. And those reports that went to their clients had their branding on instead of our branding and that sort of stuff. So I always find when I'm talking about this particular aspect of Glow, it can sound a bit complicated sometimes when I'm talking about it. So try and keep it as simple as possible. But yeah, white label is the best way to sum it up. And it's a really neat way to kind of, like I said, keep that kind of continuity with the clients in place.
And if someone listening's clients have not heard of Glow, they can obviously direct them to this podcast now, and they will know about Glow and find out very much from that. So let's gaze into the crystal ball a bit for the future in terms of websites. There's obviously a lot of noise at the moment around quantum computing. We'll not go into that, but there's a lot of noise around AI as well, and how I suppose from a builder perspective, people who use WordPress or use other site builders and things like that, there's some excitement about how AI is going to help build these websites, make them better. I suppose AI has a place in maintenance and support as well, Phil. What do you see the future of websites being for businesses? Will we ever get to a point where you don't need a website, or will it be always a case where a website is a good investment for a business?
I think it would be foolish of me to say that things aren't changing, or they're not going to change in a few years' time. We've already seen the impact of AI, as you mentioned, in every sector, and of course, web and marketing is absolutely no different. In fact, if anything, it's probably one of the most impacted. I would argue. Having said that, I think for the next few years at least, I think your website as a business is still going to be extremely important. Still going to be one of the main, the main aspects of your brand online, right? Of course, we now all have social media profiles as businesses as well, and I'm sure they're going to continue to be very important as well. But yeah, I'm actually quite sure that some point in the future, a website will be something else, right? It'll be something else that'll be important for our business to have, but yeah, I can't think that far ahead, and obviously like to focus as much as possible on the here and now. But of course, things are changing. I think what we've been trying to do, at least, is use AI to our advantage. Like, how can it help us in our business? How can it help us grow and improve our processes and save us some time and do a better job of this or that? So that's the way we've certainly tried to approach it, at least. I think we could probably bring AI into Glow in some regard as well, just to make things easier for agencies that are managing WordPress sites. I've no doubt that will be on our roadmap at some point as a way to improve things. So yeah, look, we all know things are changing rapidly with AI. So I'm sure down the line it will be a very different picture, but yeah, I think for the very immediate future, I think continuing to have a strong focus on your website as a business owner is a very wise thing to do, Chris. If you've got the right things in place, it should still be driving a lot of your new business, I think, generally.
Yeah, and I'd echo those sentiments. And just to add on what Phil says there, I would say you've got to remember the importance of owned assets. Again, I mean, we still see moments where people lose access to their Facebook account, their Instagram account. you really need to be building your own assets on ground that you own, so that you can direct people there, and there will never be a situation where a social media company goes down, or they leak some details and get shut down, or their TikTok and they get sold to someone else, right? You're never going to be in a position where you lose your customer data, the ability to speak to your customers direct. I think we're seeing a great resurgence in things like direct mail. We're seeing a resurgence in things like email communication, and things like newsletters, which used to be very old hat and frowned upon, are all coming back, Phil, right? Because people want to have that one-on-one direct communication. And by having your website, a website that is well maintained and well supported, your clients know to come there. It's going to be a secure experience. They can trust it. They can put their card details in and be comfortable. Whereas, on places like Facebook, and if you're filling in lead forms on Google, things like that, how safe really is your data in these situations these days? But what you mentioned about Glow is interesting as well, in terms of how you see Glow developing. So obviously there's going to be AI developing, websites developing. I think you make an interesting point that actually you'll be looking at ways that AI can help your business. I think there's going to be ways that AI can help all business. So I just wondered if you could give us a bit of an insight into your roadmap from here, where you intend to take Glow as a business. Is it a case of building up more clients on the existing system and making the system even better from here, or are there other desires for the business at this stage, Phil?
The former that you just mentioned there, so kind of improving on what we've already built. That's our big focus. I think we're now in a nice position where we've got some good traction. We've got lots of good agencies on board who clearly like the concept and are getting benefit from it, getting value from it. So it's really just pushing down on the accelerator pedal on the stuff that we've already got, really, Chris, and refining what we can refine, making things faster where we can, making things more stable where we can. And the big USP of Glow really in the market is the fact that it does bring it all into one place. Okay, so whilst our competitors' products, some of them are very, very good, on the maintenance side of things, none of them have any kind of support aspect, which of course Glow does. So leaning on that big USP of ours is something that we're going to be doing. And we know already from talking to existing customers and ones that are looking to sign up that they love that support aspect, because they understand the value of support in terms of them providing support to their clients. So yeah, always looking at ways to improve the product. I'm sure we'll add some new things to the product in the future. But it's not a game of just adding new features, month after month. It's making sure that, the agencies that we've got on board are genuinely getting value from it. And if we can improve that in any way for them, then that's what we'll be looking to do. So yeah, watch this space. We've got a big event coming up next month in Basel in Switzerland, this big WordPress Europe event, which we're one of the sponsors of. So that'll be exciting. A few thousand agencies heading down there next month. So it'll be good to be there and meet a few people. So yeah.
And one question I must ask you, the question we ask everybody on the Bear Business podcast, I've not seen any reason to change it for season 2, because I actually love it, and listeners will know that's my favourite part.
Go for it.
Is to ask you to sort of cast your mind back to when you probably had time to play games, which is probably not the time you get at the moment now, running a product, a SaaS product as well, which must take up all your time. But if I was to ask you about your favourite game, the game you like to play the most, either now or in the past, the game that got you most excited, what game? Could be a video game, card game, board game. What game would it be?
Easy answer, mate, would be GoldenEye on the N64. It was amazing. If I could play it now, mate, I would do, but I can't find my N64. I've probably not had it for about 15, 20 years or something, but mate, many happy memories playing quite literally hours a day of that game. But we must be talking, that must be 30 years ago, I would say, by now, which is a bit of a frightening thought.
An elite choice of game. Probably my favourite answer so far, Phil, which is a good way for us to start season 2. What did you like most? When you played multiplayer, I presume you're on about sort of playing it multiplayer.
Yeah.
What settings? Did you have one shot, kills all, throwing knives? Yeah, here we go. I've got you. Now.
Throwing knives. Oh my God, this is bringing it back now. Yeah. I think we used to do power weapons quite a lot, because obviously they were, made the game a bit easier. But yeah, we used to play a lot of multiplayer. We used to do try and do the cheats. Yeah, so like do infinity level on 00 Agent in less than 2 minutes or whatever it was. Yeah, we used to do that quite a lot, me and my mates. And I used to like playing the individual game, like the levels myself as well. I really enjoyed that, and trying to just sort of enjoy the game really. But the multiplayer was amazing, wasn't it? Because I mean, obviously, being the age that I am, I think that was our first console, the N64, for me and my brothers. So I believe GoldenEye was quite revolutionary in the multiplayer sense, wasn't it? And yeah, I mean, when I say playing it for hours, I'm not exaggerating. We would sit there for a long, long time playing multiplayer on Friday night after school and stuff. And yeah, it was amazing.
Four-person co-op.
Yes.
4 of you sat there having if you were lucky enough, if your mother had bought you some beers, some 3% beers or whatever it was, having a cold filtered Heineken whilst throwing knives at each other. The time trial's an interesting one actually, because I remember giving my GoldenEye cartridge to a lad at school who was like, oh yeah, I can do all these time trials, and because I'd never had the patience for it, for the complete this level in a minute 30 and get unlimited power weapons or whatever it would be. So I gave my cartridge to him and he did it for me, and then I had all those cheats as well. So then you could have big heads, and people would pick odd jobs mode. So that people would pick odd jobs, so you had to direct down a bit. I mean, this must be anathema for the listeners who don't know GoldenEye, but the listeners who do know GoldenEye will be having a moment here.
I hope so.
For those people,
you're making me want to go and find my N64, to be honest.
All the whiskies are available. Absolutely right. So let's go. Everyone's off now to go and have a whiskey. It's been amazing to speak to you, Phil. I think I wanted you on the second season because we love your product. We think there's probably partnerships down the line between Feedback Fans and Glow, and certainly the businesses we work with at Feedback Fans would benefit from listening to what you have to say about WordPress maintenance and support. And so thank you ever so much for coming and speaking about your care packages and your product. If people want to come and find out more about Glow, come and purchase the product, what's the best way for them to come and approach you?
The best way would be to go to our website. So our website is getglow.io, which maybe you can put in the notes somewhere, Chris, I suppose. We have a free plan. Yep, you can manage up to 3 websites on our free plan, which a lot of people like to do just to kind of, give it a test out, see if they think they're going to get some use out of it, and obviously they can upgrade from there. And I'm on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. I'm on there pretty much every weekday. So you can just search Phil's story on there. Hopefully I'll come up fairly high and you'll see that my company's called Glow, and just drop me a message there if you've got any questions about it. Love to talk to you. Talk about WordPress support and maintenance all day, every day. So yeah, don't be shy to send me a message.
Even if it's a GoldenEye question. Thank you very much.
Encourage that. Cheers, Chris.
Excellent. Thank you. Take care now.
Bye.